Okay, so I'm gonna show you how I meal prep some basic tuna cans into a week's worth of delicious meals. I turn tuna into some super crispy and flavor packed patties that you can totally just have by themselves as a snack or as a meal with some salad or in some burger buns. I use my mom's Asian style recipes for the patties and stuff them with a whole bunch of aromatic spices. No sad tuna here. I also made a Thai seafood dipping sauce and salad dressing that were super simple to make and used the same ingredients so nothing went to waste. If you follow my step by step process, you can have this full meal prep ready in under an hour. The patty in a bun with some salad comes in at about 500 calories, and I'll have a full macro breakdown for you at the end, as well as some tips on how to pack it so it stays fresh all week. So, the first thing I did was to prep all of the ingredients that I needed for this. I started with the onions. I started off by dicing one large onion. I like to use a mandolin to cut up my vegetables as much as I can, it's just faster. I like to dice the onions as small as I can. I find that larger chunks allow for a little too much wiggle room in the patties, and this makes them fall apart easier. If you don't have a mandolin, just use a grater. Once the onions were grated, I put them in a clean cloth and squeezed as much liquid from them as I could. Removing the excess moisture will also help the patty from falling apart. I then grated 22 cloves of garlic. 10 of these will go into the patties, 10 will go into the dipping sauce, and 2 will go into the salad dressing. This may seem like a lot of garlic for 2 cans of tuna, but trust me, it works. Now I chopped up 1 whole head of cilantro. I'll use about 3/4 of the leaves for the patties, and the rest will go into the dipping sauce, stems included. I also cut up 5 green Thai chilies that I'll use for the dipping sauce, and 1 red Thai chili for the salad dressing. If you can't find Thai chilies, just use any spicy pepper that you can find, like Scotch bonnets or jalapenos. Don't worry about green or red, just use enough based on your own spice tolerance. Now for the tuna, I'm using 2 cans of tuna, which makes about 7 to 8 patties for me, but if that's too much for you, you can just half the recipe. My tuna is in water, so I'll just drain the juice from the cans, and then I'll use a cloth to squeeze out the rest of the liquid like I did with the onions. With that, our prep is done, and we can get started making the dipping sauce. For the dipping sauce, I started by adding the cilantro, chilies, and garlic that I prepped before to my food processor. I then added half a cup of fish sauce, half a cup of lime juice, and 4 tablespoons of brown sugar. I gave this a blend, and that's it, the dipping sauce was done. Now throw it in the fridge while we finish up the rest. For the salad dressing, I took a bowl and in it I put the red chilies that I had prepped before as well as the garlic. I then added 2 tablespoons of fish sauce and honey and the juice of 2 limes. I gave this a good stir and done. Now onto the patties. For the patties, I started by adding to a large bowl the tuna, onions, cilantro, and garlic that we had prepped earlier. Now I added 1 teaspoon of cumin, pepper, and salt. I then added in 2 eggs to bind the patties together. And then I added 2 tablespoons of regular Heinz ketchup and half a cup of breadcrumbs. I used panko breadcrumbs because this is what I already had, and I actually prefer them over regular breadcrumbs for this recipe. You can also use 1 boiled potato if you want to skip the breadcrumbs, and it will give the patties a really nice texture. Now give this a good mix until everything is evenly distributed and getting along with each other. Now for the patties, I use just enough to fill my palm and then I shape them. Then roll the patties onto some more panko breadcrumbs to coat the outsides. So why use breadcrumbs twice? Well, the breadcrumbs in the patties acts as a binder, and the breadcrumbs on the outside form the crust. Let these sit for a few minutes while you heat up your pan. I'm going to shallow fry these in a stainless steel pan. I'll add just enough oil to get about half the thickness of the patties, and heat the oil up to about 325 to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the oil is up to temp, carefully put the patties in and be careful, there's moisture in them so this can make them pop sporadically, so use a splatter guard if you have one. These should take about 3 minutes on each side. Once these are done, I took them off and I put them on a rack on top of some tissue paper. I'm trying to get calories as much as I can, so the tissue paper was the only reliable way that I've found to drain a significant amount of oil post frying. Of course, you can also just lightly brush these in oil and throw them in the air fryer or an oven if you want. The taste of these will be exactly the same because the filling is the same. It's just that the crust will have a slightly different texture. It'll be less crispy. Okay, now let's plate this up. My favorite way to eat these is like a burger. I start off with a sesame seed bun. I put some mayo on it. Then I put the patty on top. And then I finish off with some lettuce and tomato. And I top it all off with some banh mi style pickles. If you want to know how to make these pickles, you can check out my banh mi meal prep video in the description or at the end. Now for the storage tips. If you just store these patties in the fridge as is, they'll keep for about 5 days. But be careful with packing them. Don't let them come in contact with the bun or any fresh vegetables. The water from the fresh vegetables will seep out and make everything soggy. If you are packing them with the veggies, make sure to wrap the veggies in cling wrap first. For the macro breakdown, a pair of these patties will come up to about 355 calories, with about 20 grams of fat, 22 grams of carbs, and 23 grams of protein. If you want to cut some calories, you can try air frying or baking the patties instead. If you throw these on a hamburger bun with a teaspoon of low fat mayo, you're looking at adding about 200 more calories to this. If you like this video, feel free to check out some of my other videos like my deconstructed banh mi or spicy chicken stir fry meal prep videos, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified when I drop next week's meal prep video.